Story 1. This applies to everyone, and digesting it takes some time. Slowly but surely, people around you start dying. It might be a distant relative you've seen twice in your life, a neighbor, or a great aunt. But it may also be a parent or grandparent. Story 2. I don't know if it was the hardest, but around a year or two ago, I had the loneliest winter of my life. I was going through a lot mentally and was crying out for help, asking friends to hang out just so we could talk, and somehow everyone was always busy. The same people whom I would have shown up at 4 in the morning to their door if they needed anything, couldn't give me the time of day when I needed them. And that's when it hit me that nobody cares nearly as much about you as you or perhaps your parents ever will about yourself. I realized right there and then that I wouldn't always have someone to help me get up, and I needed to be my own helping hand. It was a hard pill to swallow, but a part of me is glad I did because I learned what it means to prioritize myself over others, and it showed me that it was possible to get out of those moments all by myself. Story 3. No matter how much I try to parent my kids in a way that will not leave them hurt in the head, there will always be a caveat. Give them everything that my wife and I never had? Entitled. Make them work for money instead? Lazy. They are just kids, though, and I expect these things can be remedied with continuous proper parenting. But it is frustrating knowing that even when doing your best, you still have no idea what trauma or life lessons they actually carry into adulthood. Story 4. Toothbrush sleep society gray, resolute, brave, paltry future money homeless. Story 5. That I pushed away one girl I truly loved more than anything by making my own stupid choices and not growing up fast enough. That one was quite tough to swallow. Story 6. That our worth in the eyes of others is almost completely dependent on our ability to provide, be it financially, protection, emotional stability, and so on. Men very rarely get to experience unconditional love outside of their parents, which simply is not the same as receiving it from a spouse or partner. Story 7. Realizing that every time I reached a new beginning, it was often just another variation of an end. Every promotion, every move, every fresh start eventually led to the same existential questions and the same search for meaning. The hardest pill to swallow was understanding that the problem wasn't the scenery or the company, but the common denominator was me. I was carrying the dissatisfaction within, and until I confronted that, no change in external circumstances would amount to true change. It meant I had to dig deep, get to know myself on uncomfortable levels, and start defining my own fulfillment rather than seeking it out in the world's ever-shifting landscape. Story 8. My son was diagnosed with autism. Then my mom said that I had been screened for autism, and it's likely my dad is as well. It shook my world, but my life struggles make a whole lot of sense now, and there's a reason I felt I never belonged. Story 9. Being told that you're the type of man that girls want to marry, when the type of men they marry are usually the same type of bad boy men they were interested in during college or high school. There's not someone out there for everyone. That's another hard truth, as I've known some people who've had bad luck in relationships or marriage. Some people never marry due to circumstances and bad luck beyond their control. Story 10. That no matter how much you care about someone or how much that person says they care about you, when you go out of your way to provide a kind gesture, it will most likely not be reciprocated. A person's loyalty or love for you is based on their need for you. If you are no longer needed, you are no longer desired. Story 11. Despite their mother being an uninvolved, worthless parent, the judge just wouldn't give me primary physical custody, and I would be relegated to being an every 2 weeks dad. Despite his statement that I was the best father he'd seen in 26 years on the bench, I wasn't deemed worthy of being in their daily lives. It's been 17 years, and it still hurts. Story 12. That I can't kill myself because I care too much about the people who raised me, so I have to ride this out, depressed and resentful until the end, I suppose. Story 13. That no one can make me feel anything. My emotions may not be totally my choice, but how I respond to them is a choice. It took me decades to come to grips with that and change. Story 14. That the so-called love of my life, my high school sweetheart, the girl I married, was cheating with my best friend, the best man at our wedding. At 23, it was a real hit in the gut. I wasn't sure who I hated most. It took a long time to get the image of his bare backside with my wife out of my mind as I walked in the door. It took a lot longer to overcome my trust issues. 60-year-old me says I dodged a bullet. She's been married and divorced many times since then. I did a lot of growing up and found better friends after that. Story 15. No one cares. If you died today, maybe one person would be bedridden from grief if you're lucky. Women are loved for looks and loyalty. Guys are loved for protection and ability to provide. No one is forever. Sometimes you're your own worst enemy. Life isn't about trying to be happy. Story 16. Mine is twofold. It's the fact that I can't please everyone because I want to, and the fact that there will be people who don't like me even though I haven't done anything wrong. They just don't like you, and that's that. Story 17. Meeting and even exceeding society's stereotypical expectations for what being a man should look like, such as a successful job, being financially stable, funny, good-looking, physically fit, and so on, does not guarantee that your life will be fulfilling. Story 18. You can do everything right and still fail. No one gives a damn about you. Every good thing comes to an end one way or the other. Our time in this life is finite. Most of us will spend the majority of our lives in quiet desperation and within the depths of extreme loneliness. Story 19. Accepting I couldn't manage my ex-girlfriend with borderline personality disorder and having to leave her. For those who don't know, one of the features of borderline personality disorder is this extreme disproportionate fear of abandonment, creating a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. Story 20. No one cares about your problems or feelings. The sooner you realize that, the sooner you'll feel less sorry for yourself and start maturing as an independent individual. Story 21. At the end of the day, no one, and I mean no one, truly cares about you. Everyone only cares about themselves, which is kind of fair, but it's not a world I want to be in. I want that village they say it takes. Story 22. Losing my mom and dad 8 days apart in August 2021. Finding my best friend of 32 years, like the brother I never had, dead on his bathroom floor in April 2023. Lost a lady I considered to be my second mother in July 2023. Learned that death is inevitable and doesn't happen on our timetable. Through all this, I learned that there is not much I can't handle and I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. Story 23. That we were very into each other and loved my friend, but she soon preferred my friend's company. They are now married, and judging by his success, I couldn't afford her. Story 24. Most people get away with the bad things they do and say, justice is a nice idea, but besides obvious criminal activity, it is rarely administered. The racist person in the store, the guy that rode close to you in traffic then cut you off and brake-checked you, the people that hold us back as a society and a species. Most will get away with it all their lives and often will benefit personally from their greed, selfishness, and self-centeredness. Trying to be a good person in this world is awful unless you somehow convince yourself not to care about anything. Story 25. That when people tell you to aim high and miss is better than to shoot low and deliver is absolutely false. For most things in life, you can achieve a lot by just avoiding potholes. I know many people who have done very well for themselves by doing nothing remarkable at all, simply by avoiding mistakes. Meanwhile, I've watched many ambitious, talented people try to shoot high and end up failing, and literally no one gave them credit for trying. Sometimes, even worse, others would try to pile on at their lowest moment. Story 26. Walking in on my ex-partner being unfaithful. We were together for almost 5 years, with the last year spent talking about getting married once we both finished school. I landed my career job before graduating, and the Thursday before I started my new role, I drove down to my parents' house, stayed with them so I could pick up my work laptop and other items from the company, which was closer to my parents. The original plan was to come back home late Sunday night, but I decided to surprise her by returning home Saturday night. On the way back to the apartment, I picked up ice cream and flowers and wrote a card thanking her for always supporting me through school and now into my job. I got to the apartment, and I immediately heard moaning when I opened the front door. I was in disbelief, and time just seemed to slow down from that point on. I dropped everything and slowly made my way to our bedroom. I opened the door, and sure enough, my ex-partner was being unfaithful. That night is really a blur, but I know I just broke down in tears. My ex-partner left the apartment with the other person that night. The next morning, I received a text saying that we were over and that she would pick up her things when I wasn't there. Felt so unreal. That Sunday, I found myself lying in the middle of the living room in tears, feeling more alone than ever. I emailed my boss, explaining that I needed a week off as something personal had come up, and fortunately, they understood. For the remainder of the week, I lay in the same spot, staring at the ceiling, crying, and hoping it was all a dream. But it just wasn't. Story 27. Topiramate, a migraine medication, left me bedbound. The problem was I couldn't just stop taking it. I had to wean myself off over another week. That last week was excruciating, and it took 4 months to fully recover. For psychological issues, COVID-19 has wrecked my health permanently, and I will never be as healthy as I used to be. Learning to forgive yourself for not being who you used to be is extremely difficult. Story 28. Probably that nobody cared, and nobody was going to help me, so I just had to learn to deal with things on my own. I was a child when I made that realization. Story 29. People will literally get mad at you if they can't manipulate, control, bully, or abuse you. Some people literally want others to suffer because of their own suffering, even if others did nothing wrong to them, or because they believe others are inferior and deserve to suffer. Story 30. That my mom didn't care about me. She was abusive to me growing up, but I held on to this fantasy of maternal love. Then, when I was in my early 20s, a close friend of mine died, and she had absolutely no patience for my feelings of mourning him, telling me to be happy and so on. Story 31. No one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. Women do not care about your struggle and wait at the finish line for the winners. Life is not fair, and what you give out is not what you will get in return. Everyone is incredibly selfish, and strangers would not care if you died in front of them. Story 32. Out of several people who are too busy, just one good friend or even small talk with an acquaintance is good most of the time. Just don't expect that every good friend will pick you up from the airport or answer your 3 a.m. call to talk. Keep your expectations at a minimum and you should be fine. Story 33. When my wife finally drove away, leaving me and our son as she went back to her hometown because she didn't have anything here anymore. She wanted something more than she wanted us. Story 34. That no one cares. That all it takes is a single person to ruin your life. That no matter how much you try to explain your side of the story, they will believe her word over yours. You are guilty until proven innocent, not the other way around. Story 35. That life has no inherent meaning. I was raised in a high-demand religion or cult, known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and getting through the nihilism that comes with a faith crisis was a really rough time. Story 36. Realizing that I will probably die alone, I don't have confidence. I am average looking but can't talk to a girl to save my life. The only woman I have kind of matched with instantly personality-wise is married, and the future ahead isn't bright. Story 37. You're not really my number one option right now, but in a few years, I'll contact you out of the blue when I'm ready kind of guy. The one that gets treated like a retirement plan. Story 38. That I am not, in fact, emotionally invincible. For the longest time, I was someone many would consider happy-go-lucky, and if you ever needed something, I would be happy to do it for you. Because of that, I had this image that I was basically a ray of sunshine. But after the passing of my grandmother, seeing my parents get old, and my long-term girlfriend leaving me, when I broke down badly. I'm still recovering, but it took a while to realize that I'm not invincible in the emotional sense. Story 39. That the vast, overwhelming majority of people can't be bothered to care about you. You're inherently worthless to most of the people in your life, only valuable to the extent that you let them exploit you for their own benefit. On the upside, you can pretty much do whatever you want and no one is going to bother you. All in all, it's not so bad. Choose to be kind. Story 40. I learned this when I was finally learning to be independent. Life isn't fair. Nothing is fair, and you still have to get up and take care of yourself because no one else will. I even had my fair share of mental health battles and had to do it alone. Being a man is incredibly lonely at times, but you still have to manage to pull yourself up and fight on despite everything. Story 41. There is a bond between a mother and her kids that a father will never have. As a result, the dad will always be the other parent. It might be 99.99% to 100%, but it's still there and you cannot not see it. You are an outsider in your own family, and it gets lonely sometimes. Story 42. My value to most people is about what I can do and not in who I am. Whether it be family, friends, or relationships, I am working on changing that mindset. I have been trying to only keep those around who genuinely care, even if they are few and far between. Story 43. Girls and women don't like failures, so if you fail or stumble in life, you can rest on them for a little, but don't lose yourself in comfort. Get back up and keep going. Confidence in achievement makes us. The rest falls into place from there. Story 44. That small mistakes can have life-changing and horrible consequences. I lost friends, girlfriend, and respect from my colleagues over things I thought were small and we could recover from. It turns out the mistake was bigger than I thought, and I've been on my own ever since and probably will be, as I'm too old to make new friends in university.